Alternative fuels is on everyone's minds as we come into 2010. So we decided to pitch 7 cars against each other to see how they rated around town. Here's a little bit of a look of what happened behind the scenes.
Okay. You there, Jaedene? Roger.
Our alternative fuel mega test was conducted over 2 days. Day 1 was a 250-kilometre city loop. Day 2, we took the cars to Eastern Creek. So why test the cars on the track? Well, we wanted to see how the performance credentials stacked up and whether being green means you have to sacrifice a bit of get up and go. The city loop was 125 k's and it took us from our head office in North Strathfield. Then we headed down to Palm Beach, up to Mossman, over the Harbour Bridge and the Anzac Bridge, and we landed on Parramatta Road. So from here we thought, why don't we go to Olympic Park, where we did a lap of honour and then headed back to the office. Sure, this sounds like fun, but it's really not. No one likes crawling in city traffic, but it is the best representation of what the majority of motorists encounter each day. The afternoon loop covered the same ground, but in reverse. Both loops were done in peak hour and during school zone times. Real-world fuel testing is not an exact science, but we did everything we could to eliminate as many variables as possible. All 7 cars travelled in convoy. This was to make sure that some cars didn't end up sitting at lights and then be disadvantaged to those who kept going. Obviously, not all cars did make it through, so the cars that did pulled over to the side of the road and waited to let the others catch up. All cars were filled and refilled at the same fuel station, at the same bowser both times, and to the same point. As all pumps are different, we measured all cars by filling them to the point where you could actually see the fuel in the filler neck. This avoided issues with different pumps clicking off at different times and some being more sensitive than others. The amount of fuel taken was recorded, as was the trip computer of each car and the cost of that particular fuel. Everyone drives differently, so to account for different driving styles, we divided the route into 7 sections so that every driver drove each car to provide a better mix of driving styles. There was just one rule: drive each car the same. All cars were turned on at the same time and turned off at the same time. So at the end of day 1, after almost 250 kilometres of driving around town, all cars were refuelled and the figures recorded to find out how they all compared.
26 litres, that would make sense.
Pump 4 again.
Day 2 saw an early start at Eastern Creek Raceway.
When you come back, Tim, after your first run,
All cars were tested up and down the straight for acceleration, both in gear and from a standing start, as well as braking. So here we are, day 2 of our alternative fuels mega test. It's a bright sunny day, maybe not, at Eastern Creek, and we're actually here now doing our performance testing. So that's quarter mile runs, braking, acceleration, in-gear acceleration, all the nuts and bolts after a busy and gruelling 250 k's around town yesterday.
So Jaedene, why have we assembled this collection of cars?
Well, basically, alternative fuels is on everyone's mind. People are concerned about the environment, but also the hip pocket. So we've got a collection of cars here. They all do different things. There's some hybrids, there's a diesel. We've even got one that runs on gas. We chose an around town loop simply because that's what most people do in their everyday lives. They don't go up and down a freeway. And what we found is an average fuel consumption figure will be quite a lot higher when you're doing around town. So we thought we'd give people a bit more of a real world, what they do in their day-to-day lives, look at how these cars fare. The track also gave us a good opportunity to look over the cars before they went back to the office to see how they measured up.
Tim, how are you doing coming down the track? How's the performance figures looking in the hybrid Camry?
It may have been 2 long days and a logistical nightmare, but the results of our real-world mega test made it all worthwhile. To read all about it, head to www.mynrma.com.au/motoring.